Welcome everyone to the Silver Room, my second to last as your host, though more about that later. We are here today to enjoy readings from poet Ashley Caspermeyer and playwright Avi Segaloff. You may notice we have a fourth and familiar writer joining us, Joby Meer. Joby kindly agreed to help me and Avi read the play that Avi will be presenting. So everybody, give me a thumbs up. Are y'all ready? Perfect. Ashley Caspermeyer is a poet, artist, and educator who resides in southern New Jersey. She is a high school English teacher and an MFA candidate at the University of New Orleans. Her work has been previously published in Rattle and Ellipsis. Take it away, Ashley.
Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to get to read some of my work here today. So I'm going to take you all through four poems today. I'll give you a little bit of background on some of it before I read. So my first poem is one that kind of shares some of the feelings we all feel about aging, specifically as some birthdays come around, and this is titled 30 Something. I blow smoke on another year. Life lingers in the room, like my high school boyfriend leaning on the driver's side door, stretching the lifespan of a moment by a few more quickening heartbeats. Another memory I have put to rest, spent by the hot air that blows my other small fires. That strand of hair tucked behind my ear that never stays where it's told. Rogue tears in the corners of my eyes that are often better at listening. One last butterfly in my stomach, waiting to feel a breeze before it migrates south, leaving me to wonder what comes after the 24-pack of candles stops counting the years, when there is no new party dress to hug my hips so closely with its spandex hands, or the warmth of the second shot of whiskey curled up in my chest, or the 4-inch stiletto heels soft on a fresh January snow. Now a younger woman's moment, still burning somewhere in the air tonight. So the next poem that I have to share with you all is actually an imitation poem after a poem called Purgatorio by Kiki Petrosino. So I was really inspired when I read her poetry collection, Witch Wife. Yes. And I loved that in it she had so many imitation poems of Anne Sexton poems. So I thought that this was kind of a fascinating poem to get to offer my imitation to. So this is Purgatorio after Kiki Petrosino. Only tell me what I can't have, and I'll get by on the high it brings me. The girl in the bathroom says I'm better without him. But I emerge from the stall dressed in memory, wiping mascara from my cheek. Lost love, long stare, only tell me what I can't have. When will I forget the feel of his palm on the small of my back? When the third shot of gin blushes my face. The girl in the bathroom says I'm better without him. But I open my purse and cock my gun, thumbing his number in my phone. His voice can only tell me what I can't have. I must manifest, I must muster. If seasons lingered and change burned, maybe then. The girl in the bathroom says I'm better without him. I taste his name on my tongue. The bartender asks me what I want. I don't know what else there is to choose from. I only want what I'm high on. Serve me that, please. Okay, so my next poem is a little bit of an ekphrastic piece. It was actually inspired by a piece of art at the Philadelphia Museum called Two Heads, One with a Red Veil by Federico Castiglione. It's no longer on display, but it is an image of two women's faces. One of them is covered with a red veil, and that kind of was the inspiration for this ghazal poem that is called The Burden She Wears. Come and see the two-faced woman, in the flesh by request. Gape at the stop-and-stare spectacle, guaranteed the best by request. Anticipate which face she'll put on today for your viewing pleasure. Taught by her mother to lay it out the night before, pressed by request. Powdered and plucked, painted for the job, the bitch or the Madonna. Liberated from the girdle or cinched in holding her breath by request. Willing to spread her cherry lips and fuck the patriarchy to death while offering you her breasts to undress by request. Which face do you prefer to see, or will you peek behind her veil and hold the swarm of bees in your mouth, caging its buzzing nest by request? Eat the next meal she'll place at your table, green peas with a defrosted grin. Homemade faces not bought from a store, recipe tested by request. Little girls learning to read their ABCs, Cosmopolitan's lesson on how to be seen under a microscope, a specimen, the virgin in the red dress by request, flashing the face of the wife and then the whore, a spinning top set in motion, balancing on her ancestors buried in their grave, at rest by request. She is faceless for a moment. Ashley's masks weigh heavily on your hands as you balance on the rim of her black hole until there's none of you left by request. And then the last poem that I have for all of you is one that's actually a work in process. I'm excited to get to bring an early draft to you, and this is called Anatomy Lesson. She is a body in orbit. The universe exists between her legs, a match that strikes lightning when she walks. She is seen before she is heard. Her arms stretch across the sky. Fingers wrap around clementines, tiny amber jewels that weigh her down, until you're hungry for what she has to give, kept in the palms of her hands, safe for you. She does not eat them. Her lips remain closed, hugging only each other, hanging on the line, company for your cotton shirts, clothes pinned to a tether that only move when the wind grazes her mouth, tonguing fallen blossoms before they leave her, memories that dance across her skin, before exiting to the shadows, untouched, like the leaves of crowned China's trees, to stay on display for preservation, the reason China belongs in the cabinet, when you want company to see your taste in presentation, teeth bared porcelain, charm your guests see themselves reflected in, glass skin polished often to soften the glare, of a veneer scratched from fork prongs dug too deep beneath the surface. The hollow of her chest resonates with the sound of waiting to be filled. So those are my poems for you all today. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ashley. What beautiful poems, such beautiful sonic language, which I'm obsessed with. I remember some of those poems from a previous class we took together, and I was really excited for the chance to hear you read them. So thank you for bringing those to us. Now we are going to turn to Avi. Avi Segaloff is a first-year playwright from Southeast Michigan, currently working on a number of different projects involving madness and other themes. Avi, Joby, I've got my print out of the script here. I know we haven't practiced together yet, but I think we've got this. Avi, we will follow your lead.
Hi, hello. All right. I was thinking we could just start on melting.
Hmm?
Thank you for having me, by the way.
Glad to have you.
So this play is kind of like this kind of like a very dystopian kind of in the future, 2 years from now kind of deal. And it's called Melting, and why don't we start? Okay. So, setting. There's a bar with liquid bottles of different shapes and sizes behind it. 3 stools are in front of the bar. There is a calendar marked February 2028 on the wall. Sam is behind the bar, cleaning the glass. Hazel enters lazily and sits down on the stool.
Welcome.
Hi, you've got anything to drink?
Hazel's past the drink menu.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's cold outside.
It is.
Well, maybe just a little chilly. It's only 32 degrees.
That's cold.
Not for me. I'm not from around here. This is just a little cold. I bet you haven't even had a snowstorm.
We did 3 years ago.
Really? And what happened?
Whole city shut down.
See, that wouldn't have happened up north. We're prepared for bad things to happen there, and for just a little cold.
This city isn't used to low temperatures. You've never stayed here for the summers, have you? It's really hot then.
No, I've only been here a little while. Special job assignment. Is it really that bad?
Yes, it's very bad. Some of the richer folks leave. They cannot handle it.
Well, I bet I could. Just like I can take the snow.
I would like to see that.
Ha! You think I couldn't take it. You'd be wrong, though. I'm a tough person, through and through.
That's what a lot of tourists say.
I'm no tourist. I'm here on special orders. I'm pretty high up where I work, just promoted. Don't tell anyone, though. Although
Looking
I
around
guess,
the
oh,
bar. Oh. Sorry, go ahead.
although I guess there isn't anyone to tell. I'm Hazel, by the way.
Sam,
You don't look like a Sam. You look like something else.
what? Like what?
Like something else. Something a little hidden. You can usually tell by looking at someone's eyes or their arms. Like the color is off. Like you look white, but maybe you've just been out in the sun.
What the hell?
Like a little curvature of the body or something. I've got pretty good eyes for it.
What do my curves, my body, have to do with anything? I've got nothing to be ashamed of.
Sure, Sam, you know how it is, but for my job, I just have to keep my eyes peeled. I'm sure you understand. You're a bartender. You must keep your eyes open for possible signs of trouble. I have to do the same thing. It's necessary.
Doesn't sound like the way you do. What in the hell do you do?
Where are all your customers?
It's cold out. They're probably home.
Really?
Yes, really.
They're not at, say, a rally or a protest.
No, they're not. It's freezing for them.
It's barely freezing, but I suppose with all the arrests lately.
What are you saying?
Just what I've heard. You must have heard something with all the protesters being taken in after the latest ICE shootings.
Yeah, I've heard. So what?
You don't know any of these people? They don't come here? You don't have anything to say?
What the fuck do you want?
Nothing. I'm just a curious visitor. I mean, no one is here and it's a Saturday night. Even though it's cold, people come out. So the only reason I can see is the people who drink here are all locked up. That has to be it, right?
Starts to move to the other side of the bar.
Get out.
Hazel pulls out a pistol and a badge and puts the badge on the table. The badge says ice.
Stop.
Sam stops moving. He looks scared.
I told you I had an important job, didn't I?
Fuck you. Get out of my bar.
Sorry, I can't do that.
You aren't welcome in here.
There's a rustling sound that can be heard at the end of the bar.
I have reason to believe you keep the company of undesirables, that possibly an enemy to the state is staying here.
What?
Someone trying to keep from being deported?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I think you do. You hang out with all these protesters that fill up your bar, some of whom are in hiding because of the new law.
They're American citizens.
Were American citizens. But last month, all naturalized citizens from certain countries had their citizenship revoked.
It's not right. It's not right at all. People who've lived here their whole lives, who have voted, people with families.
Where's your cousin, Sam?
My what?
Your cousin, where is he? We've been searching for him for a month. We need to bring him in.
I don't know. Why the hell can't you leave him alone? He's a good man.
He's undesirable, a protester, an enemy of the state. He needs to be arrested.
If you deport him, he'll be killed. He's a political refugee. Please, he has a family.
They'll be going with him.
You evil son of a bitch.
Another rustling sound is heard.
What was that?
I can tell things just by looking at you as well.
What?
You're right. I do have an eye for people. A lot of sketchy people have come by this bar. I can tell who is dangerous and who isn't. Some of them have a look about them, just like you. You've hurt people in the past, haven't you?
You don't know a damn thing about me.
I know about people too. That's why you joined ICE, to keep on doing it. It's what attracts you to it.
Where's your cousin?
You're young. You were in juvie, weren't you? Then this call to arms by Trump, and you came running when you saw the people you could frighten.
I have an important job. I'm needed. I was promoted.
What a disgrace.
Fuck you.
Grabs gun.
You're dead.
A crashing noise is heard at the end of the counter. A man jumps out and runs out of the bar. Hazel grabs their badge and runs after. Sam follows. End scene, end play.
Usually this is where I compliment the reading, but that feels a little self-serving in this case. But I do think it went well. To switch out of the unpleasant mindset of that character that I portrayed, I'm going to turn back to Ashley and her poetry. And we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll come back to Avi and talk about the play. Ashley, in this sampler, you're working a lot in poetic kinds and forms. There's the birthday poem, the villanelle after Kiki Petrosino, there's the guzzle. Do you consider yourself to be a particularly formal poet? You're certainly in conversation with the genre at large by writing these kinds of poems. What appeals to you, or at least appealed to you in these poems, about stepping into these like existing poetic structures?
That is a fantastic question. I think that on my journey in my MFA, I have really enjoyed getting to try on all of the different hats that come with writing poetry. And so much of that has been trying different forms. So I think that it was almost a way to challenge myself to try to write some way new. And what I loved about it is, when the poem is done. So much of writing is revision, that when you're working with a set form that has clear parameters, it's a fun challenge to think about how am I going to take the subject matter that I'm talking about and make sure that it fits within certain number of lines or certain number of rules. I think too, a lot of what I write about deals with constricting perspectives, especially a lot of my poetry deals with what it means to be a woman in society, sometimes the different ways in which women are kind of characterized or the boxes that we're put in. And I feel sometimes that the forms kind of speak to the subject matter, which I really enjoy.
That's fantastic. I mean, I certainly agree in terms of like having the boundaries on what you're writing helps you figure out where your boundaries are, right? It's pre-established for you. But what you just said about that also reflecting sort of the boxes that we're forced into is really brilliant, and also sets me up perfectly for the next question that I wanted to ask you. Your poems, like you said, point directly to the pressure put on women to look a certain way, behave a certain way, age a certain way, and you are excellent with building an image, a setting. That line, the girl in the bathroom says, "I'm better without him," does so much work. It tells us so much all in just one line. And so I wanted to ask you specifically about your fantastic Radif by request. Is that the grain of thought that initiated your writing of the burden she wears? Or did you start with the theme and find those words by request to express it?
I definitely started with the theme first, I think because I was so inspired by the image. And I was looking for a copy of it to bring to the meet today, but because it's not on display anymore, the image doesn't exist. But it was two faces. One of them was a kind of front face of a woman, and the other one was kind of hidden behind this red veil. So I was thinking about like the two different faces that we typically tend to wear as women, the idea of how red kind of plays into that as well. And as I was kind of cycling through and trying on different kind of ideas of what could work as that refrain that was coming up over and over again in the guzzle, by request seemed to be the answer to all of it, because so much of it as women tends to be us asking permission to do things rather than just doing them. And that kind of felt like it fit with all of the different image sets that worked in the guzzle. So it was kind of like a happy accident that I happened upon it, but it seemed to just lock in like puzzle pieces when I wrote it.
It's not a happy accident. It's your brilliant mind at work finding the exact right words for the exact right poem. So thank you for writing that and sharing that with us. I have you one more sort of general question, because I'm always fascinated by various poets' approaches to this. What is your revision practice like? Do you enjoy revising? Are you more in the like first thought, best thought camp, or more in the it's a draft until you die camp?
I definitely have kind of made a nice little room for myself in the it's a draft until you die, you die space. Um, what's so interesting about any art that you create is the initial inspiration that you get seems to be what you become the most married to, the moment that you felt it, that you experienced, that you put it from kind of thought to paper. But that doesn't always mean that it's done or that it's complete. And for me, the biggest component of revision, as painstaking as it is time. Sometimes the ability to step away from a piece to allow you to go through life experiences that might kind of alter every single one of these poems, with the exception of the last one that I wrote, Anatomy Lesson, has been changed over and over and over and over again. And sometimes I do struggle. Like my big thing is I don't know when a poem's fully cooked, like when it's ready to go and ready to be served to the public. So I am constantly always changing. And most of writing is revision. And it's painstaking because it takes so much time and it really asks you to look in the mirror and be reflective and say, you know what? Maybe this work needs to tell me what it wants to be instead of me kind of trying to make it something that I want it to be that it might not be. So revision is something that I have grown to love over time. But it really is taking the time, taking the practice, and just allowing your poetry to go down different avenues and see what feels right for it.
No, that's wonderful to hear. I know I think about revision a lot, and I'm actually in the process of writing like a little blog post about revision. Whether or not I ever actually publish that, who knows? But it's wonderful to hear other poets' perspectives about like that painstaking work, like you said. But for now, I'm going to give you a break. Ashley, we'll come back to you in a little bit, and we'll put Avi in the interview hot seat. Avi, with this play, you are obviously writing to the current moment, seeing what is happening in our world and creating art in response. What things do you consider or feel like you have to be aware of when writing a play like this? Do you have to do more research than when you're writing something less engaged with contemporary news? A sort of shorter way to ask is just what was the development process like for this play?
Um, that is a good question. I guess I just development process of the play. It was actually based on a movie I had seen. And I
What
just
movie,
kind
if
of
you don't mind telling us? Sorry to interrupt.
no, it's called in Inglorious Bastards when there's the Nazi trying to find the Jewish kids who are hiding. Yeah, I'm sorry about the noise in the background. I apologize. But yeah, and I just went from there and was just thinking about, everything that's been happening in the news and ice and everything they've been doing. And it's, I'm thinking uh things are just escalating so much that, in 2 years it's not that hard to think of that like we're becoming like fascist like, I guess, looking for undesirables and chasing them down. So I wanted it just kind of looking at the reading the news and just thinking for some reason thinking about this movie and they just all just kind of came together and I don't know if coalesce is the right word and just naturally came from that. And yeah.
No, I mean, I think that's a really helpful answer. And as soon as you mentioned Inglorious Bastards, I could see the parallels between the two scenes. So it's definitely well in conversation with that. Um, I, Perhaps this is because this is the role that I was practicing for, but I was interested in the character that you created for Hazel, especially given that Hazel seems like an unexpected character name for an ICE agent. And so I was just wondering what went into picking that name and what went into developing that character in particular.
um well, like I said, he was it's supposed to be based on like a fascist kind of person. and a racist, and they're just this I just thought about like what would a Nazi be like if they were if they're an ICE agent? Because I mean that's kind of like where we're kind of stepping towards. Sorry, I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, that absolutely does. I mean, it's a simple, concise answer, but it is an answer. And it is a true to life answer, given everything. Finally, since I think you are, well, I don't think you are the first playwright that I'm having on Silver Room, it seems a good time to ask you a question that I think I've asked other genres of readers from other genres.
Mhm.
What draws you to playwriting in particular? What about this genre makes it feel like your particular home genre? And how did you get started writing plays?
Oh, I wasn't always in theater. I started out doing um yeah. Where you wanted to go? Over here. Sorry, I was sorry about that. Could you repeat the question one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you get started writing plays, and why is playwriting the thing that calls you more than other genres? You said that you didn't
Yes.
start there, so I'm interested to hear what that journey was like.
Well, I got interested in voice plays with Under Milkwood, by Dylan Thomas, Howl by Allen Ginsberg. And I just liked how uh, people would sound with making their voices and whatnot. And and I really liked how if you put you have something on a stage, you have something physically being shown, even just making a small tweak or change to it can make a whole different meaning to it. So I just really just spoke to me, and I took a performance writing class in my master's program, and I started getting really involved in theater then, and stage directions, and I just fell in love with it. And oh yeah, hi, these are my moving guys. How you doing?
Hello, moving guys, you're live on the internet. We're happy to have you.
Okay.
Um, so no, that's great to know. And I mean, I know I'm a massive fan of theater, musical theater plays, and I love seeing different productions of the same material because like you said, you change a little thing about how it's staged, who are the actors, how they're costumed, and it's the same work you've still seen, Into the Woods, but it's an entirely different experience depending upon how it's directed and shaped by like the individuals involved. So it's like, I don't know, I think it's one of the most collaborative art forms. So it's always interesting to hear people's experiences who are involved in that art form. Um, Now, though, speaking of collaboration, I have some questions for the two of you at once. Either of you can answer first. I usually let my readers fight that out. So whoever is like, oh, I want to say this one first, feel free. Um, you are both in what you read, you're both questioning the existing systems of power in your work. You're questioning the mechanisms that restrict entire groups of people. How do you go about tackling such massive topics? And how do you cope with the vulnerability of writing about such significant things?
Hmm. It's a good question. It's hard. I mean, whenever you write anything that you put any emotion or time into it, it is vulnerable. But I mean that it's also I think it makes it worthwhile at the same time. And yeah, and
What about you,
I'll hop,
Ashley?
I'll hop into and I'll give my take on it. So I have been a high school English teacher for 10 years now. And one of the things I always say to my students is that a classic work of literature is never done saying what it wants to say. that regardless of what, and I can't remember where that quote is, that those are not my words. I am repeating them
I was
from
about to say,
someone.
damn, Ashley.
Yes. No, those aren't mine. I can't take credit for them. I can't remember who they're attributed to. But I always tell my students that everything that we read or that we share or any art that we put out into the world always comes back to the human condition. And it's a mirror that we see ourselves in individually. And sometimes it's a way for us to see someone else through a window, what their life might be like. And sometimes I feel like we have an obligation as artists to comment on things so other people can see that they are not struggling alone, to see that they are not the only people that have the identities that they have or the moments in life that they kind of have to navigate through. But the vulnerability part, it's tough. I have spent a lot of my writing career hoarding my work, instead of putting it out into the world, because sometimes it's hard to say the real things, and kind of standing up for that voice and providing a platform for that voice is a very, very large responsibility. So I think that it's a service that we kind of owe to ourselves for us to write about what feels true to us and then share it so other people know that they're not alone.
I love both. I ask because this is something that I struggle with personally. In terms of every time I write something, I kind of never want to share it with anybody because that's terrifying. So especially when people are tackling things that I think are very important, but also very difficult to tackle. And we often will have these little voices in our head telling us, "Oh no, you don't get to say anything about this," or "Oh no, this is too much bigger than you." When people have successfully fought against that voice, I like to hear about how they accomplished that. Finally, I don't want to ignore our fantastic volunteer actor, Joby Meer. I know from your own Silver Room appearance and just from knowing you personally that you are an excellent performer with recitations of poems always locked in and ready to go. So, my question is, do you like acting? Have you done any stage acting before, and do you see any of it in your future?
Yeah, growing up, I wanted to be an actor. I was probably like in my first play, I think when I was 9 years old. Yeah, up until like I graduated high school, and then kind of put that aside, and I went into psychology. And so like coming back to like poetry and literature, it's like a great return to that for me, and so that's why I love it so much. And just um, like I'm really interested in the oral tradition. Like I learn better like through listening to something. So like I make like all my readings and everything into audiobooks, and so I could hear it while I'm reading it, and so I'm a big proponent of that. And so just like spoken word and poetry as utterance and things like that. And then like I love plays. And like my favorite plays, which are Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe and Robinson Jeffers' translation of Medea are both in verse. And so I love that like kind of plays come from poetry in that way. And then like even my favorite plays that are in prose, like Oscar Wilde's Salome, Tennessee Williams' Suddenly Last Summer, The Crucible by Arthur Miller. They're just so, all of those are so rich in metaphor and diction and like imagery that they almost seem poetic as well, even though they're written in prose. So, yeah, I love it. I think if I had to kind of go into another genre, it would probably be playwriting. Like if I have to take another workshop that isn't poetry, I'll probably do playwriting. I really enjoy it as well, and I think we don't have enough of it.
Well,
So.
and it's something I think about fairly regularly that I feel like not all poets, this is not the case for all poets, but a lot of poets, performance is almost at the forefront of how and why they write. And so in that way, I think theater and poetry have so much overlap because they are both baked into ideas of being in front of a crowd and sharing language in front of a crowd in a way that fiction is rarely performative. It can be, but it less frequently than poetry, and certainly less frequently than playwriting. Um,
Because
Right.
like the ancient job of the poet was to sing
Yes.
to a group of people. It wasn't just to
Yes.
write. And in fact, they didn't write. They just like
Yeah.
memorized these poems and things and
Yeah.
recited them, and that was your job. You know, it's switched so much to like this writing aspect and how it looks on the page, but I'm like, I'm always so old fashioned. I'm just such a nostalgic person that I'm like, let's just do the oral and memorize and recite. And so
Well, and I know Carolyn Hembry, one of our fantastic poetry professors at the University of New Orleans, who every poet in the program is completely obsessed with, and I'm perfectly happy to say that online. Uh, in her craft of poetry class, she usually does this assignment where you have to write a poem entirely in your head and recite it to the class. You're not allowed to type anything or write anything down at any point in doing the poem. And man, working on that assignment rewired something in my brain because I wrote it in my head as I was walking to and from work, which I didn't realize that I could write while I was walking to and from work, but apparently it's possible. And so it opened up an entire new avenue of composition for me.
that's literally my process. Like when I'm procrastinating, I'm writing the poem in my head. Like I'm thinking
That's
about
cool.
it. And like that's kind of how the poem comes to me. I'm usually in the tub, right? And I don't know, something about like the shower, something about like me being in contact with water. I'm just like, but I start writing and I write it mostly in my head and then I get it down on the paper. But most of the time it's just me like,
That's
and it's
amazing.
like the process in that is like the important lines will stick, the important
Yes.
ideas will stick, and it's
Yes.
kind of a filtering process
That's
as
cool.
well. So
I'm gonna hop
sorry,
in real
throwing
quick.
my 2 cents in about
Please,
poetry,
Ashley.
but
Yeah,
I was
no,
gonna say
Joby and I will take over this entire meeting.
most of my writing is also oral writing, where I will
Wow.
record voice notes, and then those voice notes, I then kind of write them down. And I think, Joby, you are right that it's something about poetry that carries the musical quality that it is performance first. I always kind of note the difference as prose informs and verse emotes. So, like the emotion that kind of comes behind it. But it's so interesting just to hear everyone else's process and kind of think about how they're similar. I write a lot with voice notes and I write a lot of my poetry on walks. So it's a shared form of composition, which is fun to find out.
Well, the poets have completely taken over this call. So, unfortunately, I do think that we are probably going to have to call it there because I don't think I can handle being given any more food for thought. This one, I think, is really going to stay with me. So, thank you all for your willingness to share this work and your thoughts about creating it. And an extra special thanks to Joby for jumping on to help us out with that play. Our next Silver Room is going to be on April 12th with multi-hyphenate Gus Berg and poet Bracken LeClaire, who, as I'll be announcing soon on social media, will also be succeeding me as next year's MC for the Silver Room. Bracken will host our final Silver Room of the year on May 3rd, though I will still be here as one of your readers, exposing myself to the gauntlet I have inflicted on all of those before me. So look forward to April 12th and May 3rd, and then until next time, see y'all out there on the silver screen. Thank you for joining us.